Mr. President, my motion is on the need to investigate the economic and security implication of an unregulated Nigerian retail sector and also consider appropriate legislative measures to protect indigenous retail traders. The Senate notes that the Nigerian retail sector remains unregulated with dire economic and security implications. Senate also notes that the Chinese, Indians, and Lebanese companies have taken over the retail businesses from indigenous retailers in markets like Balogu, Tradefare, Aspanda, Alaba, Koka, Computer Village, Day, and Nyanya markets, where they have shifted from production and wholesaling to retailing. Mr. President, recall that since Nigerian independence, particularly between 1960 and 1970, organized retail outlets in Nigeria, first-tier cities such as Lagos, Kaduna, Kano, Port Harcourt, were operated exclusively by large multinationals retail outlets chains such as Leventis, UTC, Leonard's, Bata, Chilarams, and Kingsway. Senate observes that apart from offering employment to Nigerian citizens and providing revenue to government in terms of taxes, the Nigerian retail business landscape has other immense economic and security implications, which calls for ideal policy and regulatory measures that will attract the needed foreign investment to our economy and at the same time protect indigenous retail business investors. Aware that while many African countries, including ECOWAS member states, such as Ghana, have policies and legislative measures in place to offer minimum protection to indigenous retail traders. In the case of Nigeria, however, extant policies and legal frameworks at both national and sub-regional level do not offer any minimum protection to our indigenous retail business operators. Observe that unlike Section 27 of Ghana Investment Promotion Council Act, which exempts foreigners from certain retail activities and further provides minimum protection to indigenous Ghanaian retail traders against foreigners, which is visibly seen in few years ago, Section 17 and 18 of Nigerian Investment Promotion Council Commission Act prohibits both foreigners and Nigerian citizens from engaging in certain economic activities, including retail of products from such business activities without any special incentive or protection to Nigerian citizens. Observe further that apart from the provision of the NIPC Act, which fails to offer any special protection to indigenous retail traders, the ECOWAS Protocol on free movement of persons, right of residence and establishment further complicates the fate of the indigenous retail traders by guaranteeing citizens of ECOWAS member states free entry to their citizens and residents without visa for 90 days. Note that the implication is that while organized retail businesses in Nigeria, made up of multiple branches, supermarkets, franchises, mega supermarkets, shopping malls, etc., is dominated by foreigners such as the Lebanese, Indians, and Chinese through their popular retail outlets, and consigned that if no measures are taken by government to forestall the growth of and expansion of the indigenous retail traders, extant policies and legal frameworks at national and sub-regional levels may not offer clarity in terms of the incentives and protections available to them, even as foreigners continue to dominate the Nigerian retail trade landscape. Senate accordingly resolved, Mr. President, 1, urge the federal government to review the Indigenization Act and then other extant policies and legal frameworks with a view to providing incentives and of protection to indigenous retail businesses in the Nigerian organized retail sector. Call on government at all levels to put in place acceptable measures to protect traditional and open market retailers, to avoid contravention of environmental and health safety standards, promote revenue collections, and prevent harassment and constant disruption of retail trade activities by government revenue collectors or environmental and health enforcement officers, and mandate the Committee on Trade and Investment to engage the Ministry of Trade and Investment and other relevant stakeholders with a view to receiving briefing on the extant policies and legal framework on the retail trade in Nigeria, and to protection offered to indigenous retail investors, and to report back within 2 weeks. Finally, to engage local retailers with a view of engaging them on ways to protect their interests, as well as invite the foreign retailers to ascertain their legal status. Thank you, Mr. President.
The motion moved by my brother, Senator Ifeanyi, on the need to regulate and control retail and protect retail trade in Nigeria. It's a welcome development, and it's a long overdue motion. Simply because the economic policy on retail trade in this country has been weakened by the influx of foreigners into our retail trade value chain, particularly those Indians, Lebanese, and so on that he has mentioned, to the extent that they are even in bureau de change services in the country. Inadvertently, they control the economy within because they can provide the fund. If care is not taken, all the shopping malls and so on that are coming up, most of them are being sponsored by the foreigners, particularly if you look at ShopRite, there are South Africans behind it. Unlike other countries, like Ghana, that has specific policy. And when you enter their country, you want to do business, you must pay $300,000. And that is what is affecting our people in Ghana now. 1 million, now $1 million. If you cannot do that, you go. If you want to go into banking, you can only provide the fund, take your license, and the chairman of the banks will be there. All the remaining officers are Ghanaians. If you don't comply, you go. Most of Nigerian entrepreneurs that have gone there, they have liquidated because they could not comply. Nigeria, anything goes. If this Hello Chamber cannot put down a policy that will protect the retailers in this country, then we are in trouble. So I wholeheartedly support the mover of this motion that we should protect our own interests and put a policy policy on ground that will prevent the foreigners from sending away all our retailers out of the market so that our own population can be engaged. Thank you very much.
Prayer 1. Urge the federal government to review the Indigenization Act and other extant policy and legal framework with a view to providing incentives and or protection to indigenous retail business investors in the Nigerian organized retail sector. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Call on governments at all levels to put in place acceptable measures to protect traditional or open market retailers, to avoid contravention of environmental and health safety standards, promote revenue collection and prevent harassment and constant disruption of retail trade activities by government revenue collectors or environmental and health enforcement officers. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, mandate the Committee on Trade and Investment to A, engage the Ministry of Trade and Investment and other relevant stakeholders with a view to receiving briefing on the extant policy and legal framework on retail trade in Nigeria and the protection offered to indigenous retail investors, and to report back within 2 weeks. B, engage, the spelling of engage, G is missing. Engage local retailers with a view to engaging them on ways to further protect their interests, as well as invite the foreign retailers to ascend their legal status. Those in favor of prayer 3, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.